What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Outside the Clutch. This one's going to be a little bit different. This is our first in person. I don't know how I feel about this. I hope this goes well.
We'll see.
We're going to figure it out. A whole new setup. So we got all our roadcaster in and the pod mics and all this stuff for a future project that we're doing. So hopefully you can hear us and everything's good. And we have something that I've kind of envisioned, and the local guys were giving me shit about, even though I think we had this set up before. It was in the group message.
Oh, yeah.
We had this interview set up, and I was like, I want to start running through the local guys again to give love back. And they're like, man, you're such a prude with the freaking podcast. You don't give the local guys any support. It's got to be a big name, or you don't want them on your show. And it's not about that.
No, it's all good.
I don't know. You have to interest me, I think, is the issue. Like, I don't want to just sit there and question someone and be like, hey, who are you?
Oh, sure. You got
to
be interested in your what do you call it?
Product.
The people you have on the show. If you're not interested,
it's just like the animals, right? Yeah. Like we all keep different animals because we want.
It's kind of what you like.
Jose? Yeah, you have to find what you like, and that's what drives you. And if I'm just putting this out to put it out, it's not.
It's only going to last so long.
Yeah, I'm going to stop.
It's like anything. You try to pretend you're something else, and it only lasts for so long, and then it's hard to keep coming up with that content.
Wait, I can't keep up with persona.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, what's up, Christian? Jose, Bob. I can't read from that far away. So
what's up, guys?
I'm gonna need
what's
glasses
up, everyone?
soon, I guess.
I know. Yeah, an old man,
right? I mean, you're there. So. But before I guess we jump through all of this, see, he's already talking crap. Oh man. Before we jump into all of this, I would like to say a huge thank you to our sponsors. Usually I run a small ad for them. I'm just going to kind of name them off this time because it's changed a lot in the last 2 weeks. I skipped last week, so I guess it's 2 weeks now. So as you guys know, we're sponsored by VivTech. Huge supporter of VivTech. Everything they do. I keep their bulbs. I use their bags when you buy a snake now. I use their meters. I'm eventually going to get into all the sensors. I haven't got that set up yet, but we do have a code that I'll put down in the link below for them to get 15% off. Also, if you're into ReptiChip in El Paso, I'm a local distributor now. Super happy to be part of that team. JT is he's always been a huge supporter of us here in I guess the Feely's Clutch family since we started. So to kind of give back to the community and to be part of that team is a huge thing. And then our last sponsor, third sponsor, not really last sponsor. Well, I guess last sponsor for this run. I'm just awkward like that, is Show Me Snakes. So Mickey and his wife decided to sponsor the show as well. So I'm really excited to be working with them. We're going to hopefully be traveling with that show a little bit besides just the local show in El Paso, and try to do more with it, do more promotion and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about our sponsors, really excited to continue growing the podcast as we can. And I guess we ought to get to our guests. I'm trying not to keep him, even though he's local and I could probably keep him all night. His wife probably wouldn't appreciate that. So the kiddos probably wouldn't either. I know Rocco would probably miss it,
he's all right.
So we have Keary Molinaro of the Molinaro Snake Lab, the Grooming Emporium, and do you have any other hider businesses?
That's all for right now. That's all for right now.
Okay. Business aficionado extraordinaire. He likes to keep his skills busy.
Likes to stay busy. For sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
So let's jump into some of the stuff before we get into reptiles just to kind of know you, your background, and what kind of made you you?
That's a good question. What kind of made me me? Well, it's an odd question. I don't know. I grew up out in Pennsylvania, and I grew up out in the woods chasing frogs and chasing lizards or snakes, that kind of stuff. And that kind of sparked my interest watching shows. You know, I just like a lot of people from our generation, Crocodile Hunter and all those guys, Jeff Corwin, and that's got me interested in snakes. After I had a couple, after I joined the Marine Corps, I had to get rid of everything. 9 years went by while I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't keep anything. And then once I got out and kind of settled in, I was like, you know, I want to start getting them again. And once I got back into it, it was, you know, ball pythons had blown up. Like I was never seen blue-eyed leucistics and all these things. I was like, what is all this stuff? You know, because when I first started, you could find normals, and if you could find an albino, it was rare, but then it was super expensive. So when I got back into it, I saw these animals. I was like, this is really cool stuff. So that's when I started picking up some here and there. And it just, you know, just like most people, they're addicting once you start buying them. Yeah. And you know, then I got into Bredli pythons. I got into children's pythons. Last year I got some corn snakes, tricolor hognose, all kind of different projects that I'm going into. Yeah, sorry. You asked the general question, so I just start talking. So that's kind of how I got into it. And like you mentioned before, the Grooming Emporium, it's another side business that my wife and I have, and we sell all kind of shaving stuff. We sell like the straight razors, the wet shaving razors, the 3-piece like safety razors. We do beard oils, beard balms, mustache waxes, kind of anything men's grooming related. And
why's it got to be men's, bro?
Well, it doesn't have to be. There's a lot of girls out there with beards too that have, hey, we're happy to sell. You know, I'll sell to anybody. We support it all. So that's kind of, and that got started because right before COVID started, I started looking online. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I was like, you know, I'm never shaving again. I'm going to grow a beard. And like many people in the military do. So I started looking around at pictures and stuff, and, you know, care and all this kind of stuff. And that led me to seeing these beard competitions. I was like, this is really cool. And some of them had really cool designs, and guys get up in these elaborate outfits and stuff to go and compete. So I started seeing those. I was like, I want to try that. You know, I just have that kind of competitive nature. If I'm going to do something, it's like, you know, I want to get more involved and try to compete and see how I do. So I started doing some online ones because, like I said, I started when COVID started. So all the in-person competitions kind of went away, and they started doing the online competitions. So I met a couple of people through Facebook and that have been competing for years. Some of them were world champions and stuff. So I started talking to those, and they started hosting these online competitions, and I started competing. I must have did in 2020, I must have did like 13 or 14 online competitions. Like every month I was competing. So yeah, then after that, I started doing more in-person ones, and that kind of blew up. And doing so, I started meeting all these people that make beard oils and beard balms and all this stuff. And because then I started thinking, well, maybe I can make my own oil and try to sell it. But then I started meeting all these other people that make them. I was like, there's a lot of really good products out there, but you don't see them at Walmart. You don't see them because they're small right. businesses. And I like to support small businesses as much as I can. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to start a business and kind of have a way to take all these smaller brands and kind of put them in one shop, try to support these guys, and, you know, have something that really is not out there very much. So that's what we did. And it's doing really well. We have an online shop, thegroomingemporium.org. And then we do a lot of local markets. We'll do like, we're out almost every weekend, at least, you know, 3-4 times a month. We get out somewhere to sell the products locally. We'll do some beard competitions. We sold some of our stuff at the last snake show here. So
how do you think, like, the way you were brought up, because you were brought up differently than most people, right? Like you have musicians within the family, right, and like performers and stuff like that. So how do you think that kind of like built you into your persona that you have, and like the character that you've brought forth on TikTok and stuff?
That's true. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, So my father's I guess a local celebrity. He's pretty famous. He's been in bands. He's been a business owner. He does all kind of stuff. He had TV shows. He did all kind of things like that. So he had that entertainment aspect. And my brother was always very outspoken. He was always in bands. I was always kind of the quiet one growing up. Like I think I was like overshadowed by them. Like I was, you know, and I'm not a musician. I don't really play anything. So I was kind of, you know, the more quiet, reserved one. But then I guess I found my medium to express myself. I was always artistic. Like I was always an artist. I would draw, I'd paint, I'd do stuff like that. But I guess finding the way to make these short videos on TikTok or even when I first started on Instagram, you know, pictures and stuff like that. And I started doing the reels, and I guess I just found a medium that I liked and I could work with, and, you know, kind of like an artist, I just took off with it, and it's been doing all right for me since.
And that's one of the things that we talked about, like your attention to kind of the short form media versus long broadcast productions like this in a podcast, or like your normal 10 to 15 minute YouTube video, right? So, you seem to really excel at the short 1.5 minute clips, which is really funny, because right when we started talking about this is right when like reels and stories and stuff started really becoming popular in social media. So kind of walk us through, like, when you got an idea for something, or when you want to make a video, what's kind of the mindset or the things that you do to prepare?
So like I said, like you were saying, I kind of, that's kind of the short videos is kind of my sweet spot. I'm one of those people where I have a hard time watching longer things. Like my attention span's quick, and my brain is moving one thing, so it's got to hold my attention. So that's how I looked at when I go into making a video. I'm like, okay, I need a really good attention getter, find something that works. And then I really try to take everything I do daily, and that's how I could keep making videos every day. It's just my daily content, but you kind of have to twist it in a way to make it interesting to other people. And it really is, like what we do, breeding snakes and stuff. It's something that I always like to say, there's a famous quote, what's normal for the spider is what's normal for the spider is chaos to the fly. So for us, you know, breeding snakes, it's a normal thing. It's like, well, I got a clutch of eggs. That's not that interesting because it's a normal, you know what I mean? But to the rest of the world, and so much, like this is really cool stuff, you know, like people don't see it. So I try to take that and the other thing is I have a focus audience. Like I try to focus on a certain group of people. And most of those people aren't very familiar. They're new reptile keepers. I don't really make, I don't want to say my content's not for more advanced people or people that's been, I mean, everybody could appreciate it, but I don't really throw out the knowledge and the stuff like that. I try to keep it at a basic level because there's more people out there that are interested at that level. You know, there's, you know, only so many people that are advanced breeders that could, you know, want to talk genetics and want to talk all these terms. Well, you know, you lose people when you get too detailed sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And I think with that, like a lot of people do that content anyways. So it was really out there. Smart to
you're right.
kind of throw a broad net to start out. Yeah. And then like if you watch your journey, you've niched down little by little, which I enjoy and I appreciate. Like I remember the old days where it was like the professor in the snake lab, right? Coming out and just doing all kinds of wacky stuff. And then like I didn't like do anything with a snake today, but I'm in the professor get up and like juggling or I'm like riding a unicycle or something like that, which is awesome. I appreciate it because it's stuff that I find amusing.
It's amusing.
I've been there while you were trying to learn. So it's like, oh, it's good to see freaking like getting better at it. Right. And I don't know, man, like the way you've niched down into what you have is really impressive.
And that's one of the other things that I kind of do. I'm like a student of TikTok, you know, like it's not, I don't just, it's a lot of the stuff you'll see on there. It's not just a whim. Like I've kind of looked at stuff and I was like, okay, this is working, this is not working. Okay, this is not working, take it out. People seem to like this. Let me work this in, and let me like even like my cut scenes. Like, so I started watching like professional TV shows and stuff like that. And I would count the seconds. Like one shot would be maybe 3 or 4 seconds, if maybe slightly longer if there was something big going on it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could adapt that to my video. So if you watch my videos, you won't see one camera shot for longer than, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And then it's a different shot of a different angle or something like that. Because that's, it holds people's attention. Like, filming the same thing in one spot, you're going to lose some people's attention. But if you're constantly changing, so a lot of that I try to add in there. In addition to, you have to have the proper lighting, you have to have all that kind of stuff. But little things like that, I think paying attention to it, it kind of makes a better quality product at the end when you cut it all up.
Absolutely. I think it's just your attention to detail too. Like the military mindset hasn't left you. We're still very detail oriented.
And you know what, bringing that up, as I mentioned earlier, like I like to keep it short and sweet, and like kind of packed with as much knowledge as I can. And that's one of the things that I learned in the military as a briefing. So I was an intel analyst when I was in the Marine Corps. So there, we were constantly drilled in our head. Hey, what do you know? What don't you know? What do you think? That's all the general wanted to know. Like, don't get up there and tell them how to make the watch. Just tell them what time it is. So, okay. So I use that aspect too. Like, so when I get into my videos, it's look, if this is, if I'm doing a storyline, it's kind of like you give them a quick update on what the story is, day 56 of incubation or whatever I say in there, and then kind of what's going on in that video. So I try to keep it short and sweet, but get that knowledge or get that whatever information I'm trying to pass. So it's another, like you said, it's another thing I got from the military, that attention to detail, but also that kind of briefing skill, I guess.
It's one of the things you learn as you grow up in the lifestyle.
Yeah, but, definitely.
So let's jump into why probably the majority of the people are here. Let's jump into your reptiles a little bit. When you first started collecting again, what did you start collecting, and what brought you to actually breeding?
So, when the first thing I was, it was at a chain store, a chain pet store. So I was, So when I was out there,
I need to mark these for the next one.
Right. I started Googling, and I was like, okay, I'd like my ball pythons when I had them previously. So when I got back into them, I was like, let's see what ball pythons.
You got a fancy ball.
So I started, and it was a blue-eyed leucistic. And it was one of those, it was there for so long. They wanted some crazy amount of money at the pet shop for it. I don't know, it was like $800 or something like that. But this time it was like half off. And I want to say maybe it was like $350 or something like that. And I was like, okay, compared to some of the prices I'm seeing online, I was like, that's not a bad price. So I ended up getting a blue-eyed leucistic, and it's still one of my favorite snakes that I have. So I got that, and then I didn't know much about how to make blue-eyed lucies. I didn't really study like there's. I know there's a lot of people that are ahead because they were watching all the shows like this and all the channels that kind of talk about the genetics. And for me, I just kind of was like, oh, that's cool. And then I got actually got a Dumeral boa next, was the next thing I got. And she was real cool. My kids were afraid of her, and everybody else in the family was afraid of her. So I was like, well, I don't want to have this snake that nobody else in the family could enjoy. So I found a local pet shop, and I was like, hey, would you take this, or would you trade for something else? And I ended up trading for another. It was a female banana spider ghost ball python. Turns out it wasn't a female, so it was a male. So I kind of got screwed on that. And yeah, I all around that was a bad deal, but it happens. So kind of that's so I started growing that up, and then when I was growing those snakes up, I got it a couple more. My wife started buying them from more. That's when we discovered Morph Market, and so my wife was buying some from there. And then then after that, it kind of just it blew up, and then I was buying collections off people and rack systems and all kind of stuff. And then yeah, we just started breeding them, and then I found some other snakes that I started getting, the Bredli pythons and some other stuff. I would kind of went into all that. So like I said, I didn't really study genetics and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I came up with the name Molinaro Snake Lab, because for me, it was like an experiment. I was like, I'm going to put these together and kind of see what happens. I kind of got a general idea of, a cooling process and how to go about it. But I wasn't in the community at that time. I didn't know people. I didn't know other breeders. Like the first pet shop locally that I talked to, he kind of gave me a rundown about breeding. And then I did some research on my own, but that was it. I didn't really know too many people in the community to kind of bounce things off of. So my first year of breeding was kind of just, and it worked out well. I mean, my first year, I still feel like it was one of my better years. Like I got like no slugs. I got everything worked out great. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, So yeah, that's kind of how that went down.
So when you first started, how many were you looking at? Do you think that there's a spot for you right now with where you want to keep it? Just you having a family,
right,
a full-time job, and all of that, and technically two businesses on top of all of that.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, I find right now, if I get over 100 snakes, it becomes a challenge to feed everybody and to clean everybody and keep everything in the condition I like. I like to try to keep, a good standard of cleaning. I try to do what I tell myself. I was like, I got to do 10 tubs a day. I clean 10 tubs a day and just rotate it. I could keep up with everything. When I get over 100 snakes, it's like, it gets to be a lot of work. Yeah. And then on top of everything else, the kids, the family, other work, other jobs, it's a lot. Yeah. And then I breed their own rats. And so you have to try to keep those guys clean. So it gets overwhelming. So I like to do 100 snakes with including all the hatchlings that I get. And then, once I sell off all the hatchlings, I'm back down to maybe 50-ish. And that's manageable. That's like comfortable work for me, if you have 50 snakes. But yeah, that's kind of my sweet spot right now. Now I would like to grow, as if it does well, absolutely. And as the businesses get better, as like the TikTok's doing really well for me now, so that's kind of giving me a little bit more freedom to a little extra money to put toward the business, that I could get more rack systems and get more stuff to make me more efficient, I guess. Right. Which will kind of take some of that burden off of all the extra work,
So you initially just started with ball pythons.
Yeah.
I know that you have successfully bred your red live once.
Right.
We're going for it again this year.
This year, yeah. This year's. And
are we looking at any other species so far?
So this year, no. Just the ball pythons and the Bredli this year. I have my children's pythons are up to weight. So I'm going to look to breed those this coming season. And then the tricolor hognose are also up to weight. So that's going to be another new project, something kind of more experimental.
Oh, that's going to be huge. I know a lot of people are.
And they're super cool. They're super cool snakes. They're easy. I mean, I've kept them now for a couple. I guess I'm at 2 years. About.
I remember when they were little worms, and I was like,
they were, yeah.
You had me watch everything for a week, and I was like, oh my god, these things are going to get out, and I'm going to lose my mind.
And they escaped on me once, and they found their way like underneath some junk on the floor and underneath one of the racks. So they got out one time, but they are. They're super easy to keep. They got a lot of personality to them. I mean, they're crazy, especially the female I have, man. She's always hungry. She'll eat constantly, without any issues. Like even I'll put the tongues in there and she'll be biting the tongues and stuff. Like I gotta watch out because she comes out like crazy. As soon as she hears me feeding other snakes, she's ready to go. But yeah, they're really neat. They don't live as long, like everybody says, they're short lived. They could breed a whole bunch of times. I want to say they breed like 3 or 4 times a year, 2, 3, 4 times a year. They could breed a bunch a year, so you get a lot of work out of them. I don't know if I'll do that. I might, I'll start with once and maybe I'll work up to 2. I don't. As a small breeder, I don't like to put a lot of pressure on my animals. It's not like my main source of income, so I don't need to push and push and push. So I like to try to take care of my animals as much as I can. But yeah, they could breed a couple times a year, and they only live to be about, I want to say like 8 to 10 years is their average range. And a lot of people are like, oh, they're so short lived. But if you think about it, 8 years is, that's as long as some dogs live. You know what I mean? It's a long, yeah, like, it's a long.
If I get 12 years out of her, I'm gonna be super happy.
Right. So it's a long, so that might interest people, because they don't want a pet for 30 years. You might just want something 8 years, try it out. Hey, it's still a long time. But
what do you think is like one of the biggest challenges that you faced since you first come in? Because everyone has that one thing where like they have an idea of how to do it, but it sometimes takes mentorship or help or something to really get them through it.
Yeah. One of the most, there's always trouble, especially when you're working with different species to start. Like my Bredli, I tried for 2 years to get them to go. And I was reading all the instructions off, everything I could find on all the books. And I started talking to a guy over at Rage Beard Reptiles, his name is, and he successfully bred them a bunch of times. So I was always messaging him, and he was always super cool to answer my questions. I'd constantly be asking him stuff. And then I was reading some people would drop the temperatures down, like I wasn't cool enough. They're like, yeah, you got to drop the temperature down to like, 60 degrees at night, during, the cooling season. And I was trying that and nothing, I would get nothing. And then finally my last, I guess it was 2 years ago is when I hatched them. What I started doing was, it just happened on a whim. I was like, you know what, I'm going to breed them similar to how I breed my ball pythons. I'm going to start pairing them more earlier in the season rather than, like late in the spring, just to see what happens. And I did it for the first couple of months. I would say I started pairing them October, November, nothing. I wasn't getting anything out of it. And I want to say it was like December I got my first lock. And it just happened on a whim. And I don't know if it just happened by chance, but I had the male and the female's enclosure. And then whatever reason, I think I wanted to change the female's enclosure. So I put them both back into the male's enclosure. And within an hour after I did that, they locked. So I don't know if it was he smelled like another male or he smelled himself. Because that's the other thing people were telling me, I'll put the sheds in there, to get them or combat them. But I didn't have another male to combat. But I put them back in their own enclosure. And for whatever reason, they locked up. And that was like in December. And then I continued to pair them through that. And they locked, I want to say about five or six times for me that season that I got visual locks at least. I was pairing them, I wouldn't say once a week. I would put them together a little bit longer than I would put the ball pythons together for. I'd pair them for maybe like 5-6 days at a time, and then I would separate. They locked, like I said, 5 or 6 times, and then I want to say it was August of that year is when she laid. So I was pairing them, 6 months of pairing, and then I got the eggs out of it. So it was, so it's a long, it was a long season. So I said, I don't know if it took, in December or something like that, and the same thing happened this year. I actually got a lock this October. I was like, I'm going to put them together, just see what happened. I got a lock. And then I've been pairing them. Same thing. I probably got maybe 5 or 6 visual locks. So we'll see. She's looking fat right now. She still ate. She ate for me today. So I don't know. I know when she goes off food, because she's a monster eater. So the last time, that's when I knew something was up, because she went off food, and then she went off food for maybe 3 weeks, and then she laid the eggs. So I'm kind of waiting for that. I'm hoping it comes soon for her to go off, for her to go off food, and then I know something's up. So yeah, she just shed for me not too long ago, so I'm hoping that's a pre-lay. It's kind of hard to tell.
So you said usually around 50 after you figure out your holdback situation and your breeders right now. So besides just the bredli and your hognose, how many pairings do you actually do with ball pythons?
Well, my ball pythons this year, I had about 10 or 12 pairings this year. And I had eight of them. Yeah, eight clutches. I think I had about 8 clutches this year. I had 2 that I'm kind of waiting on. I'm still kind of, one is I have a pair of the Het Monsoons. That's kind of the one I'm keeping my fingers crossed for. So I have those that I'm still waiting on her. She's doing funny stuff and laying in weird positions. So I'm hoping that
he's not telling you guys he's stressing this.
I am. I'm stressing. Even for the heads, it was an investment. I'm like, God, I hope I get something out of this. Otherwise, you just gotta. I mean, that's you know the deal. Yeah, you know the deal. That's how it works with animals. That's how it works with live animals. You kind of do your best, and they, you got to let them do their thing. If they want to do it, they're gonna do it. If not, try again.
What do you think's been like the most valuable lesson that you've learned with your time with reptiles so far?
The most valuable lesson. I would say just stay on top of things. You know what I mean? Especially as a breeder or a keeper that you keep multiple animals. That's usually when what happens. People get into that with like the Noah's Ark syndrome, and you just start collecting animals and more animals and more animals.
Well, you gotta call me that like that, bro. Like,
we're surrounded by animals.
You walk into the front door. There's animals on one wall. You come in. All my walls. It's gonna look like a pet shop here.
But yeah, I think that's just a matter of scheduling out your list. Okay, this is my task list. This is my local chores. I tell my wife I feel like I'm on a farm sometimes. Like, you got to do all your chores. You got to take care of all your animals. Go out. So I think it's just scheduling everything out and making sure you stay on top of things. And that's really going to kind of help you organize and get in. If you're just getting into breeding or something, having that list of these are the things I need to do, and being organized and having things scheduled is going to kind of set you up for success. If you like, even for me, like this year, I was doing some pairings, and it wasn't working out. I had a pair that was like fight every time they would get in there, and I was like, well, this is not going to work. So I would switch them out, and then sometimes I would just throw a different snake. I was like, let's try this one, and I'll put this one in, but I didn't write it down. And then when everything starts hatching, you're like, well, where the heck did this thing come from? And then, so now you got to go back and think about, so having that list of keeping everything organized, everything organized is going to help a lot. It's going to kind of set you apart.
What about the kids? With them growing up a little bit more, are they finally getting more involved in it? Or are they just watching? Are they just creating chaos in the background while you're
mostly chaos. But no, they're good about it. They're not really interested. If people are over and I'm showing other people, then they're like, oh, let me hold one, and kind of that. But yeah, they'll help out every now and then, change water bowls or that kind of stuff. But they're not. Yeah.
So Elena, which is the one that I didn't think would be the helper. She's got it set so she knows when she wakes up in the morning, she has to turn on the bearded dragon's lights.
Oh, there you go.
She has to give the dog, or our big dog, the Great Dane, her food, and she needs to put the water dish next to the sink so that when Dad gets up, he can fill it, because the water dish is just too heavy for her.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
She's running through, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna be the best one.
That's good. That's what you need.
Here, keep loving the animals, please.
That's what you need, like a routine. You got to have that. You got to set with that routine, and set ourselves in a routine, and it kind of keeps up with everything.
So, you've been doing this now a couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you kind of see this going? So, you have your full-time job, which I think you have what, probably another 6-8ish years, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, probably a little bit longer. Yeah.
You still got over 10?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You didn't spend enough time in the core, bro. Okay. So
but yeah, so it'll be a little bit but as far as what I have big aspirations for the Molinaro Snake Lab. I want to make it, I work on branding. Like, that's one of the big things. Like, I'm always trying to like brand it, and I want it to be more than just like a snake breeder. I want it to be bigger. I would definitely love to have some sort of place where you could go to see animals and learn about the snakes. So yeah, I have envisions of that, and hopefully one day I could put it all together. We'll see. But one step at a time. You gotta take it one step at a time. So
Completely understand.
So, yeah.
My problem is that I held back for so long that once I got the green light,
yeah.
I just put the pedal down.
Yeah.
It was like, I may have bit off a little too much now, babe.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we're still doing it.
Yeah.
We're expanding all the time, but
Mhm.
I don't know that I don't have the ability to shut it off at this point.
No, I can't either. Yeah, because there's times where you get tired, and you're just like, oh, I don't even want to go out there and clean, or I don't want to even, But I always say, learn to rest, not to quit. You gotta. Okay, if you need a break, take a break. Don't make a video for a couple of weeks, whatever you got to do. But yeah, at this point in time, it's a passion. We have a passion for it, and the animals we love. The community I love. All the people out there watching the videos. I mean, it's such a great community of people to talk to and just learn from. I learn a lot, even from videos I post. I read most of those comments that people put down, and sometimes I learn stuff. It's like, oh shoot, I didn't think of that. I'm gonna try that, and sometimes even in my videos you'll see I change tactics a little bit based on what people are saying. I got a lot of people yelling at me for not wearing gloves in my latest TikToks. Like everybody, when I was cutting eggs, and I don't wear gloves. I never wear gloves. I just don't. But people,
it's goo.
Everybody yells at me.
What are you gonna do about it?
I washed my hands before. I washed my hands after. It's not like
I've been in the military. There's a lot worse things I've been on my hands.
Stuck my hands in a lot worse things. So yeah, so I don't.
Granted, I was wearing gloves at those times.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so that's one of the things that people have been yelling at me for lately. But I don't foresee myself wearing gloves. It's just something I get excited to do. I take the egg, I cut it.
Well, one of the things I think about with it too, man, is it's nature. At the point that egg is punctured, you're introducing bacteria no matter what anyway. So it doesn't matter if you're clean or not, if you're wearing gloves. And that's one of the things that me and my mentor have talked about a lot is you can over clean these animals and you're making them prone to diseases or just the stress of moving a breeder from one facility to another, and you don't do it the same way. Right.
Yeah. And if you think about it, these eggs hatched in the wild. The species has been around for millions of years or whatever. So it's not it's got to be a sanitary. I obviously you try to keep it as clean and as sanitary as possible.
Wait, but you call yourself the Molinaro Snake Lab? You're not keeping,
and it's not an actual sanitation. Laboratory.
That was one of those. I need to mark this next time. Where's the crickets?
But yeah, so that's.
Oh man, that's too good. So, you said about 10 pairings for ball pythons. You have your bred light, you have your tricolor next year. You just picked up a monster of a snake with your retic.
Oh, the retic, yeah. So that was so how'd that started? I get random messages from people all the time saying, "Hey, I got this. Are you interested? Hey, I got that." And most of the time, sometimes if it's something I'm interested in, I'll get it. If a lot of times it's kind of like, look, I'm not keeping those right now. I can't. I'll ask around for you. I have a lot of friends and connections. I could kind of ask around. So this guy, he's from outside of Austin, and he messaged me and he said, "Hey, would you be interested? I got a big reticulated python. Would you be interested?" And at first I was like, "No." I said, "I don't keep reticulated pythons, but I'll ask around." And then and I asked him, well, how much you looking for, blah blah. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, and then I thought about it for a while, and he started sending me some pictures. I was like, man, it's a really cool snake. Maybe I am interested. And my wife was always like, no Burmese pythons, no reticulated pythons, no anacondas, nothing that could eat my dogs. And then she was like, and no venomous. And I don't want any venomous snakes. So I was like, okay. But I showed her the picture. I was like, hey, what do you think? And for whatever reason, she said, okay. And I was like, all right, I got a green light. I was like, okay. So I messaged the guy back. I was like, look, I said, I think I'm going to take her. And I asked them, a bunch of questions. And for me, I never kept reticulated python, so it was a new adventure. And I was like, that's kind of fun,
It's not like you chose a small one either.
No,
like
I didn't. It's not a baby.
Full-blown
Yeah,
adult.
I think she'll be 4 in November.
Okay.
And she's big. So I went and I picked her up, and he sent me pictures, and it was just like her on the floor, and you could tell, she was big, but it wasn't until I walked in his house, I pulled up and he had it out in the living room, just hanging out, just snaking around the living room, and I was like, that's a big, that's bigger than I expected. But I mean, I love it, so I went right there and I tried to pick her up or help direct her where she's going. It's hard to pick her up because she is always on the move. But yeah, we measured her out. She's 14 feet long and she weighs like just about 60 pounds, just under 60 pounds. So I mean, she's a beast.
It's a heavy 60 pounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 She's a beast. Super cool snake though. Very sweet. Yeah. And then setting up the enclosure, she came with this giant, it's like a 9-foot long enclosure. I think it's like 3 feet tall or 3 feet wide. So it's a really big enclosure. So at first, I was trying to put big Tupperware bins in there, but she would try to climb in the water bowl and spill it all out. And then I had to go in there and clean the whole thing. So finally I found a way. I got one of those cement mixing tubs, and then I built like a PVC stand for it. So she could crawl up into it and like sit in there, or she could go underneath. It's like a little hide. And then I got another tub that I modified. So I'm trying to work on that enclosure. And I still need to get some cool lighting for it and some more. I want to make it's a big enclosure, so it's kind of like a centerpiece. So I wanted to, So that's kind of what I've been working on, is trying to make that kind of like a centerpiece kind of.
You think you'll ever get the wild hair to breed the larger snakes?
I went back and forth. I thought about it, but I'm not set up for that type of facility. I don't have room. I don't have the room to house many big snakes like that. And they're not legal everywhere. There's some states and that bothered me, because then you got to worry about if you're shipping snakes, if it's legal there and if it's not. So right now, I think it's more of an educational. What I like to do educational events. I did a couple birthday parties. I did some company events where I'll bring snakes and let people hold them and take pictures. And that's kind of what I had in mind when I got her. I was like, wow, this would be a really cool show snake to show people and, let people take pictures with or, learn about. But then when I got her, she doesn't sit still. So there's no way I could take her out, and you can't control her well. Like, she kind of goes where she wants to go. You could help guide, but you can't like say, no, you're going to go this way. She doesn't work. So I'd like to maybe build like maybe half size enclosure of that I could put on some sort of wheels that I could still bring her to these events to show her. But without like actually taking her out, or trying to people to hold her. But she's a great snake. She's super cool. So I'd like to show her off, but I just got to figure out a way to do it.
Now you've officially now, as I think 2 weeks ago was your first time vending a snake show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've now been on both sides of it. What are some of the takeaways?
Well, I vended it was no different, because we do a lot of vending with the grooming emporium. So it was very similar to that. It's just working with people, learning to talk to people, being friendly. Growing up, I worked in retail. I worked in a cigar store. So it was kind of like I learned how to converse with people, how to make yourself be professional. And that's kind of what it is. And then I like to, because people come to the shows, and especially the ones with the little kids, they like to see stuff, and so that's why I usually bring like my Bredli python or something that I know is very friendly around people, and let people hold it, let people take pictures with it, because that's part of the experience. I know when I go to shows, if they're just in cases and stuff, it's cool to look at, but I like to give people that hands-on kind of experience, when you go to show it makes people, and a lot of people will say, oh, it's stressing the animal out, passing her out time, but I pick certain snakes that I know are 100% laid back. They're good with being handled. I handle them myself regularly all the time. So I pick certain snakes that I'm 100% confident in. And then I lost my train of thought, but yeah. So I pick those snakes that I'm confident in, and make it an experience for them. because that's what they want to come
And
home
I
with,
think-
show people, you know, oh, look at this snake around my neck, you know, this big snake. It's cool.
It's one of the hard things with us because we're obviously there to sell animals,
Right.
but you have to do something more than just sell animals, and not a lot of people want to do that. Like you
Right.
got to find a way to make it an experience.
yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I bought a whole extra table for a reason,
Right.
and it was to pull people to the side and actually have good conversations
Yeah.
with them and let them hold animals and
Yeah.
do stuff like that.
So I think that's part of having a good reptile show is be personable, you know, like everybody's different, you know, some people are not quite as outgoing, or they're reserved, or they, you know, some people just don't have people skills, you know, they might be great breeders, but they don't got good people skills. So that's the other thing. You just got to kind of find where your niche is, and you got to get out there. I mean, if you're talking to people are people, you know, no matter what you're selling, it's all the same, you know. You just got to be friendly with them and spark
If
up
only
conversation if they, you know, and
we
then
took that thought process for everything. Like I think it's funny, man. Like, people make it so freaking difficult when it's not. It's like animal sales in and of itself is kind of difficult.
yeah,
But
I
it's not
agree.
difficult because it's difficult to sell the animal. It's difficult because you're giving an animal to someone and you have to make sure that they can take care of that animal properly.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing too, is making sure they're going to the right home. Because I mean, for me, and I'm sure it's like that for you, like I love these animals. Like you've raised them from a hatchling, you know what I mean? Like you hatch the egg, you cut the egg open that they're in, you know? So it's like, I care for all of them, you know, and I would never try to do something to harm them or just that. It's not just a commodity to me. Like, it's not like, I know there's some big breeders out there that just thousands of snakes. That it's kind of like, I just want to move snakes. I want to move snakes. But for me, it's, you know, I put extra care into each one of these snakes. So I kind of want to make sure they're going to the right place. And that's why whenever someone buys a snake from me, I'm always open. I'll answer questions all day long. And sometimes I do. And it's the same question all the time. You know, so it gets to be a pain, but I'm happy to do so, you know, no matter what the question is or how many times they have to ask me or how many times I get asked the same question. I'm going to be friendly. I'm going to answer the question. And that's part of, you know, just running any you know, it's my product. I need to be comfortable with, and I need to answer all the questions about it. It's, you know, taking responsibility for your business, you know. So that's one of the things that I think I tell people. It comes with the business, you know. Free answering questions comes with the sale of the snake. You know, you could ask me questions all day long, and you know.
And sometimes it comes without the sale.
Sometimes it comes. Yeah, sometimes I do my best. Like I get so many questions every day, and I do my best to get to everybody. So if there's anybody on here that I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. I'll get there eventually. I try.
That's all
I only have so much time in a day.
Right.
You know,
I feel that one severely bad lately. Let's jump into some of your other products. Well, they're still snake related now. You have the Grooming Emporium,
right,
which we kind of talked about, like the products that you offer, but you finally this year came out with your own line of beard oils.
We did. So I got a friend of mine, Nick from Mudcat Whiskers. He makes oils and balms and stuff, and they're based out of Louisiana. It was one of the first beard oil, small kind of batch beard oil companies that I found, and I really like this products. And he's got a good value on them. You know, they're cheaper than a lot of them, but the oil itself is fantastic. You know, so I started talking to him, and I kind of reached out to him. And I was like, hey, what do you think about, you know, collaborating with me, and we'll make our own, you know, make a Molinaro Snake Lab oil for me. And yeah, he was super down. He's like, yeah, I've been thinking about that actually. So, you know, me and him got together, and he's like, I'm going to come up with these 3 different things for you. I'll make the labels for you. So he ran with it. He took it and he ran with it. So he came up with these 3. Let's show you real quick here. So he came up with indigo, and I named them all after snakes: royal, as ball pythons, and Burmese. And even like the Burmese, like he went so far as it's made like the scent profile is Burmese wood, citrus. And you know, so he kind of,
so the profile is kind of based off of the locality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he kind of ran with it. And they all have, there's 3 different scents. They all have their, like I said, this one is Burmese wood. The indigo, the Burmese is kind of like a more of a woodsy kind of feel to it for guys that like, you know,
That musky,
woodsy kind of,
yeah.
smell to it. The indigo, I always say it's more of like, okay, I'm getting dressed up to go out, you know, on a date or something like that. Like it's a little bit, I don't want to say cologne-y,
but I'm gonna go ahead.
I don't want to say cologne-y, but it's kind of it's got, you know, more of a fancier smell. And then Royal is probably our most popular. We can't like I must have, or like since we came out, I probably ordered it 4 times. Like it just keeps selling out. Right now, I think
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I'm keeping him working.
That's like your ooh, holy crap! Sorry. That's like your frou-frou guy.
Yeah, this one,
like
yeah,
an extra couple of spritzes.
That's that one. Yeah, it's but you know when you put them in your beard, like they mellow out. Like and he's like a perfumist. The way he does it, like he's got like, oh, this is the top notes and the key notes and the bottom notes. Like he's really good at orchestrating the scent of the oils. Yeah, check them out. I have them, so you can find them. The only place they're sold right now is on the Grooming Emporium website. We have them there, and then we have them on we just launched it actually last week, is molinarosnakelab.com.
Nice.
So we started our own website. We got so many questions and I wanted a place to sell. Sorry, I'm going into the website. So I wanted a place to sell more than just my snakes. You know, we had the beard oils. I have T-shirts and stickers, and I do the wet specimens. So I wanted to have a place that I could kind of one location where I could sell everything related. You know, you have Morph Market and that, which is an awesome platform, but you could just sell your snakes there, though. You know what I mean? So I wanted to kind of, okay, well, there's so much more that I have so many more projects in the works right now. Like it's overwhelming sometimes, but I just got to do one at a time. But lots more coming out. Some things I'm really excited about, but I'll wait till the next podcast when it's more official and solid. But yeah, so I have a lot of different projects coming out that I'll put on the website. So it'll be cool. And like I said, that's kind of my bigger vision is more than just selling snakes. Obviously snakes is the basis, it's the main thing that I want to do, but I want to kind of build out around that and make it, you know, a bigger entity. 100%. So I think launching the molinarosnakelab.com was going to be instrumental in that to kind of set everything else off and give me a platform where I could sell. And like I said, on the TikTok we do well, but I find that social media, I guess it was last year or the year before, I was getting good on Instagram. I was building up my following, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. Right. And that kind of sunk me, because I was like, you know, you think you have something going, and then just like that, it's gone. It's like, okay, now I have nothing. You don't have anything solid.
And it seems to be like people within our niche specifically.
Yeah,
get like the ones that start building up steam really, really fast.
Yeah,
you see those accounts disappear
for whatever reason. I don't know if it's hacked. I don't know if I was hacked or Instagram took it. I tried asking questions and you get no replies from Instagram. So that's why after that, I was like, you know, I need to do a website or something that's not going to go away based on someone reports that this is inappropriate. You know what I mean? And I get it on TikTok a lot. TikTok, they'll you know, I made a video just the other day of how I ship a snake, and everything I post is family friendly. I try to make it educational. I don't curse. I don't, you know, it's very family friendly content. But I got reported. I made a video of someone bought a snake from me, and I sent the snake out, and I showed my shipping process and all that, and it got reported. And it got reported for criminal activities and graphic violence or something like that. And then that's what I was like, what is this? And then my account gets reported on, and it'll say, you know, one more violation, and you could lose your account, or you could, you know, they kind of threaten you. And I was like, could you just it's super
Explain
frustrating
why it is.
as a creator. That's super frustrating. You know, you put all that hard work into it, you build up your following. So I'm always nervous about it just kind of just crashing on me and going away. So that's why having the website was kind of big for me. It's like, okay, now it's not going to go away. You know, now it's kind of there. So that's
insane.
I think, yeah. TikTok
It's
I love
snowflakes,
the app. It's fun. It's good. But yeah, I think I don't know if it's just like people that hate on you, like people that the haters on you, or
it's like people that don't understand why you're doing
what
it.
we're
Like
doing. Yeah.
the egg cutting that I did recently, like I posted that little reel of it, and I have my account set up so like if you say something derogatory or something like that, obviously it blocks it.
Right,
like
right.
I can see it, but even I have to go looking for it.
Right.
It doesn't bring up that you commented, right? And I had this guy go off, and I left it on there. And he was like, "Oh, well, you doing this is effing disgusting and blah blah blah. Like you're a horrible person. You're the devil for opening these eggs."
Make it sound.
And I was just like, man, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
But I do this for a very valid reason, and if you read the comments above you,
yeah,
for all the other people, you'll understand why I did it.
Right.
And come to look at it, half that clutch didn't develop egg teeth.
Right. Yeah.
So half of my clutch would have died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get that. I always find it weird. Like you get that other argument that people it'll say, "Oh, you should let them die. Like you should
just let nature
survival of the fittest or whatever." And it's like, man, like could you imagine? Like to me, like I said, I love these animals. So to me, like saying that is like the same thing to a human. Let them die. Like let the baby die because that's what I think. Like it's like how is that in your mind? They're not. I understand it. That's how the wild works, but these aren't wild animals. They're pets. They're never going to be wild animals ever.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like if you watch the ball python movie, they're essentially the same way in wild, but still, like that. It's such a, at least for ball pythons, it's such a relaxed animal that. Why would you not want to? Like, if you could save that life, why would you not want to save that life?
That's
makes no sense.
Yeah, to me, maybe it's just the kind of person I am. But if I could help something, especially that I'm taking care of, you know, like okay, I understand if you're a wildlife photographer and you see a lion killing a gazelle, you're not going to go over and save the gazelle, or you're not going to, you know, you got to let nature happen there. But that's to me, that's a totally different environment. We're not talking about, you know, you're comparing apples and oranges. It's different.
And I think it's like.
And I actually would like to know how like, is there statistics on that? Is there really evidence that shows that cutting an egg open is causing snakes with egg teeth to continue to produce snake? Like, is there really evolution? Or I've never seen any like science, and I'm a science-based person. I like to see like legit articles or at least a body of some sort of evidence to say these things. And some of the claims, I'm just like, I don't know. I haven't seen that proven. And, you know, I even get, I'm going off on a tangent here, but even there's another guy was arguing with me about ball pythons and we shouldn't be breeding because they could become invasive species and this and that. I said, well, I've never seen any evidence of any ball python becoming an invasive species.
Fine. Well, so like, if you look at it, there's just like in Florida, there's like 3 counties in Florida, right? Where pretty much any animal that has any jungle, tropical type environment, will become invasive in essence.
Right.
But once they go a county above or a county below that, the climate changes so drastically that they're not going to survive.
Right.
Though the argument is what FWC and stuff's based everything off of, but still.
Right.
And I assume it's probably like that for most things too. Like we have our stuff in the United States that survives very well for a large location, right? But if it goes just a little above or a little below, they're completely wiped out. Like they won't survive. But I've taken that as well. Like I like looking into the actual papers.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that I've done with my clutches now, because I've read multiple papers on the eggs actually touching. under incubation, they're more likely to do better and they're healthier. They get like kind of like the single child syndrome, right? When you separate that egg. Now, I haven't really tested it to that aspect, but there's other people that have done these studies. So like, well, all my eggs will be touching in some manner. So as they're developing and they're growing, they're rubbing against each other in the egg, so they don't have that.
And that's one of the things, and I get questioned on a lot of times too, is people on, you know, in the TikTok comments. I never separate my eggs when I hatch. If I don't have to, you know, if they're stacked really high and I have to pull a couple off so they could fit in the egg box, I will. But a lot of times I'll just incubate them as they're laid, just like they would in nature, you know, like that. I mean, that's how they come out. And I've never had dude, dog squeaking the toy. I've never really had an issue with any ill effects from that. You know, if an egg starts to go bad, I will remove it and I'll separate that one. But yeah, I always just, I don't know, I like to incubate them all together. And like, I think it's, like you said, it's kind of a natural environment for them.
Well, I mean, like I'll separate, but I make sure
put them
that
together,
they're all like the ends are touching. I'll curve them so that all the eggs are touching each other. And then if one, like you just said, if one starts to mold a little bit or something like that, I'll pull that away, separate it, and apply necessary treatments, right? But if everything looks good, I keep them together because I read like 2 or 3 studies over that. Yeah. And I put it out in a couple of groups and people were laughing it off. And I was like,
I mean, there has to be reason. Like it happens in nature.
I've done that with though. Yeah. Like the babies come out big. When I was separating them and I was like making sure the eggs weren't touching. Yeah. It took them longer to eat. Yeah. Or at least from my notes, it took them longer to eat. Yeah. They didn't come out as big. Because I don't know if it makes them absorb faster or what it does.
Yeah, maybe the extra stimulation kind of gets them moving, you know, like just like when you touch them, they kind of wiggle and move around a little bit. So that's probably happening a lot more when they're all clumped together. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I try to, I mean, I know it kind of contradicts the stuff I was saying earlier about nature and the egg tooth and all that, but yeah, I mean, I try to simulate, you know, a natural environment. So that's why I leave them clumped together unless I have to. Now, sometimes at the end or just for organization purposes, I'll separate them, but a lot of times I'll just leave them together. I never had a problem with it. Like people say, oh, professional breeders all separate them. I was like, well, I haven't found a reason why yet. If I don't get a reason why I should do something, I stick to what I do, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like everyone does something in their own manner. And that's like even here locally, we're like, oh yeah, we're very much sharing everything. Yeah, and I think it's great because we all get knowledge off of it, but we all do stuff. We all do something a little different. Sure, for sure. And that's one of the things I wish I would like to spread out in the community more. And is that like there's a lot of hate on people when they do something different than what, you know, one of the big breeders do, or this guy or that guy. And it's like, well, this guy does it, you know, I get Snake Discovery does it this way, you should do it this way. It's like, well, there's more than one ways to do this, you know, like it's not a cut and dry thing. Like some people cut eggs, some people don't cut eggs. Like it's not wrong either way. Like as long as the animal's coming out healthy and you're not hurting it, the animal's fully developed, you could cut the egg and it's not a big deal. It's kind of a preference. Like, what do you know, you said you cut it and you could save an animal like I just had one recently with the umbilical cord around its neck. So I was glad I did cut that one because I was able to get the umbilical cord off. But there's so many ways to do this. And that's why, and the same argument with tubs or tanks and that, you know, you could healthily, you're a monster. Yeah, I'm crazy because I don't have a tank, but you could help. You could keep it in a little tub where it could touch the sides. Like either or, you know, you could do it both ways, and the snakes could be just fine. Like if you brought a snake to a vet that's been in a tub, and you brought a snake that's been in a tank to the vet, and you brought it, I doubt the vet's going to be like, this snake is way healthier than this one. Like it might even be the opposite, you know, like. So there's more ways to keep. There's more ways if you do it. The properly. People that are keeping them in tanks probably are having more RIs and stuff like that. Well, they're not maintaining. And it depends. Yeah, if you keep it in a tank, you do need to make modifications for humidity and that kind of stuff. But it could be done. You know, I'll take the hit on that one. I'll take the hit on that. I'm just trying to say there's many ways that you could keep these animals. As long as you could replicate that environment, you know that there could be. 100%. It could be done, in my opinion, of course. So we've covered it pretty much all of it. So if you guys haven't watched this before, this is actually our second time with Keary. First time was actually a vlog. I'll end up posting this up after it's done and it's done its whole little process thing, right? The website. Where do we find the website now? Now that you officially have your own website,
So we have the official website. Check out www.molinarosnakelab.com. That's where it's at. Check out all my TikToks. Same thing, Molinaro Snake Lab on TikTok. I got a big following there. I'm very interactive in there. That's kind of my main platform.
Understatement, but yeah,
it's pretty big. So that's where I do.
Huge. It's enormous.
It's a little huge.
It's over 1 million followers.
Yeah,
say that.
Yeah, I'm up to like 1.1 or something like that. But yeah, that's where I'm very interactive with everybody. I try to talk and I try to chat with everybody. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. But yeah, the website and TikTok is kind of my main focus.
Okay. What do you think's gonna be, if you're willing to divulge, what's gonna kind of be the next big thing in your path that you want to push towards?
I don't know. Like I said, I have a lot of projects that I'm working on right now. That'll kind of it's different. I think it's different, and it's yeah. So I'd like to do more on YouTube, to be honest. I kind of take my TikToks and I'll drop them into the YouTube Shorts, but I kind of want to do that a little bit more. It's just I got to find the time. It's like I said, there's not enough time in the day. I'm up at 6. I stay up till 11 or 12 at night, and it's like, man, it's like I can't keep up with everything.
It's like you're a teenager in the military.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of Red Bulls and Monsters, energy drinks, but yeah. So that's kind of where I'd like to go. And like I said, I have some new projects. I can't release it quite yet, but some cool stuff that it's different. I don't see it in the community very much, so it'll be something new. Okay. So keep an eye out. So keep an eye out.
To see it. This is going to be something that we're going to continue doing. Yeah. I look forward to hosting more of the locals, and I think we're going to try to do a little get together before the end of the year. So I'll probably be sharing that. I guess I should throw some of the announcements that I have planned.
Throw
away. So vlogs are coming back. I took, I'll say, over a year away from it now. It was just so time consuming to edit, and with working, school, and everything, it was impossible, man. And while I continuously fill my plate, I've learned how to take bigger bites, I guess, right, so to speak. With work no longer being one of those, and being here full time, I want to get back to a vlog. So we're going to start doing a vlog every week and a podcast every week. So you will now get 2 videos a week. And then we've expanded hugely on rats recently. So we're going to try to up the distribution of rats in El Paso.
We need it.
badly. And then what's the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, shows. We're vending now, which was interesting experience.
Yeah,
very interesting. Yeah. This is the first kind of piece of content that I've really put out since then, besides like little reels and stuff. And we had a great experience. We got to share the whole weekend with my buddy Keary.
It was fun.
And we'll be heading down in September, first weekend of September. We'll be heading down to the McQueenie show. Super excited for that. I'm actually from San Antonio originally, so I get to like go hang out around the hometown for a little bit for that weekend. Nice. Super excited for that. And then later in September, we'll be going up to Arlington. Not vending. I'm putting in to get on the 2-year-long wait list. But
is that really?
Yeah, it's really that long.
I didn't know that.
It's pretty insane unless someone backs out last second.
Yeah.
And then,
right.
Yeah. I hope that you're first on that call list.
Right.
But yeah, so we're gonna do that, and then October we'll be in Odessa to do another Show Me Snake show.
Awesome.
So it's gonna be busy couple of months.
A lot of traveling, and a lot of it's good though. It's good.
A lot of new content. And for those that don't know, we're looking at starting another podcast as well with someone that's I'm going to say very well known. Some people love him, some people hate him in the industry. I like to feel that I'm very neutral in all that I do, and that's going to be my position within that podcast, because it's going to be more of an educational aspect as far as like genetics and stuff within ball pythons. So there's people that probably would not talk to that person, and that's why I'm being pulled in, so that we can get the full story and like the history.
It's good.
So I look forward to that. When we're ready for that, we will be pushing that out. So you're going to see a lot more of this ugly mug, and hopefully you're going to see a lot more
That's right.
of this handsome mug.
I'm everywhere.
We're going to rain down some freaking beard oil and maybe some more Dr. Pepper, and we're gonna have a good time. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're gonna see you on the next one. Make sure you check out my man.
Check it out,
and make sure you stay tuned for future episodes.
Thank you. Be good, everybody.